very excited to have a conversation about something that is driving a lot of discussion in pharmaceuticals, which is this idea based upon the Supreme Court's ruling. And our expert Craig can talk to you a little bit more about that in a minute around AI and patents and trademarks. And the Supreme Court saying that if you try to patent music or trademark music using AI, they're not going to permit it. And so that's a big deal for a lot of reasons. And we're going to talk about that now, again, with an expert in the world of patents and trademarks. Handing it back over to Neha.
Hi. So now for our next session, we have Craig Kenesky, a partner from Brown Rudnick, and we are going to talk a little bit more about patents and the legal and regulatory standpoints when we deal with something like drug discovery using AI. And Craig, let's get started with our first question. As we progress every day with getting closer to drug discovery and potentially like actually having something in the pipeline for an AI generated pharmaceutical discovery, what do you think? How would the patent protection for something like this would work? What level of human involvement would be necessary?
This is a more dangerous question than it sounds, because people just have this attitude that AI improves everything in our lives. And in many cases it may, but we're dealing with 200-year-old laws that did not contemplate an AI world, and the laws haven't caught up yet. So it really depends on what we mean by an AI-generated discovery. So first and foremost, the current state of the law, for better or worse, requires a human inventor for something to qualify for patent protection. So the question is, how did the AI generate something? Let's say the human scientist tells AI, go search for all drugs that are known to participate in this pathway associated with diabetes. Fine, that's just searching for literature. Let's say the scientist tells AI, I have this huge data set that I don't want to deconvolute. Analyze the data and tell me what molecule is working best in this pathway. Fine, that's just data reduction. Nothing wrong with that. Let's say the scientist tells AI, design a novel chemical structure that you think will bind this receptor. That molecule, when AI spits it out, is not going to be something that was conceived in the human mind. That will not qualify for patent protection. And there's an epidemic out there of lawyers in my position not telling people this. And it angers me a little bit, because we're supposed to be the people protecting the scientists from the law. And that would be a situation where no, that molecule wouldn't be eligible for patent protection under the current law.
And what do you think in the situation due to this particular legal gap? What do you think if something like this happens? How should an inventor go about it? And if an AI system, say, identifies a novel drug candidate, how would a lawyer deal with that? Like, who would be considered the inventor? The human, the AI developer, the organization? And what do you think how the law should deal with such gaps?
So under the current state of the law, an inventor can only be a human being, and a patent must have at least one inventor. And the inventor is a person who is the first to mentally conceive and envision the product or technology that is described in the claims of the patent. So that determines who the inventor is. To be eligible for a patent, there has to be a human being who did that. An institution, a company, a university cannot be an inventor. It has to be a human. So what the company needs to do, the institution needs to do, is first have policies in place, pointing their researchers in the correct direction, so they don't give AI instructions that will lead to an illegal path. Fortunately, AI tends to do what we ask it to. So if we don't tell AI, hey, design a novel chemical structure, it probably won't. So that's a pilot error from someone who hasn't been properly educated by people like me, who are supposed to be there to point them in the right direction. But here's where this goes bad. If you've ever filed a patent application, at some point, the attorney who prepared it for you sent you a document to sign. That document was called a declaration. This is a document that swears, under penalty of perjury to the USPTO, that I am the person who thought of the ideas that are described in the claims of this patent application. If you sign that paper, but AI thought of the ideas, then you have just committed perjury. You have committed a felony punishable by 2 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. Has anyone ever been indicted for perjury in a patent application? I don't know. It probably hasn't, but there's a bigger issue too. You go into due diligence with an investor, a good IP attorney in that due diligence is going to ask you the omnibus question. Is there anything else we need to know about this IP before we move forward? In response to that question, you're legally obligated to say, yes, I'm indictable for perjury for falsifying records to the USPTO. But no one's going to say that. What are the consequences of that? Well, if it ever comes out, if the investor ever finds out, they will be in a position to sue the company for recovery of the investment for misrepresentations in due diligence. The only way to win is to know the rules and follow them.
So, so what do you think, like looking ahead, as you see more and more companies are using third-party AI models or using some sort of AI application, either to assist or in any sort of capacity, and which is now flowing into drug discovery as well. Going forward, what legal or policy changes will be most important to encourage such sort of AI innovation in drug development, while also making sure that there is a human involved and intellectual property is preserved?
Well, first, institutions and companies need to make sure they have policies in place so the scientists are doing things the right way and not creating problems that people like me haven't educated them on, because it's not their fault. It's the fault of the people like me who know the rules and aren't passing them on to the people who need to know the rules. And that's really what incenses me. What companies really need to do is keep track of how AI is being used. Data deconvolution, searching, docking molecules into receptors, go for it. It's the wholesale creation of a new idea that a human being did not put forward is where there's an issue. And we solve that by not asking AI to do that. Now, there is something you can do to mitigate. And this is a solution to so many problems in IP that I push on people all the time. If you're going to do something or want to do something that you think might be a little bit dangerous, before you do it, file a provisional patent application on all your ideas. If you want AI to screen for what molecule you think would be best at binding this receptor associated with diabetes, do a literature search, find all 400 molecules that hit this pathway, file a provisional patent with all 400 molecules in it saying that you think that they're good for treating diabetes. You don't have to be able to prove it to file a provisional patent application. You just have to be able to explain it a little bit. The patent office will whack you $300 to file that provisional patent application. And once you file it, you've got proof that you had this idea before AI did anything for you. Government records proving that you thought of it before the computer did are the best protection you could ever have.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Okay. Anything else from your point of view? What inventors and what should pharmaceutical companies in general and drug discovery biotech should keep in mind apart from what we've already discussed as they use AI in their processes?
Always be mindful in using third-party AI tools for what level of secrecy you have with them. Does your AI provider provide a wall around your queries and output with a guarantee that no one other than you will ever access them? Some may not. Do you have a non-disclosure agreement with your AI provider? You probably don't. If there is no legal and technological mechanism in place to wall off the flow of information from your input to the AI provider, then your searches, your AI queries are not trade secrets. And anything that AI spits back to you is not a trade secret because you have not taken legal steps to guarantee that the information does not end up in the hands of anyone outside the organization. Also, any data breaches, any exposure that may happen on the side of the AI provider, you don't get a mulligan for that. If your queries or AI's output to you somehow gets out in the public through no fault of your own, you just lost the patent rights associated with what got published, unless you took Craig's favorite piece of advice and filed a provisional patent application on it before you ever access the AI. Now, I have a personal theory. I think someday Congress will go back and look at this and say, you know what, this 200-year-old law on inventorship isn't good anymore, and other countries are innovating with AI. It doesn't help the United States to penalize our inventors for using AI. So I think eventually it will change. Maybe not soon, because politicians don't run on a platform of patent reform. It's not an exciting issue, but I do think eventually it will change. But for the time being, all we can do is play by the rules. And it's the responsibility of people like me to make sure that scientists and engineers know the rules.
Thanks. And do you have any recommendations for companies, some of the big pharmaceutical companies right now, who are, as we saw with our previous speaker, but that was more on the manufacturing side, but on the discovery side as well, who are using more for cell gene therapy, who are using different AI models to assist them with drug discovery in that area?
It would work very much the same in biologics and cellular biology as it would in hardball organic chemistry and pharmaceutical discovery. Don't ask AI to design a gene for you, but if you have ideas of how the gene would be designed and you would ask AI, which of these is going to be easiest to synthesize? Which of these is going to be expressed most easily in the human ribozyme? Fair question to ask.
That makes
Ideally, file a provisional patent application before you do
it. that should be the headline.
That's my cornerstone piece of advice for almost everything.
Yes.
File a provisional patent application before you do it, and you have a record from the federal government saying this was yours as of blank date. Nobody can break that.
Agreed. All right. Thank you, Craig, for that was really informational. I feel like everyone who works in R&D and drug discovery today has had their eyes open. So I think that was really really informational bit of advice that you provided.